He's making a list and checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty and nice.
This does happen sometimes. Now, I'm afraid to say that you have made my naughty list.
Did you hear that? You made the list. Oh, it's terrible. Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome to the Naughty List. Now, this is where anything from tacky tunes to questionable holiday treats can find itself in a little bit of Christmas trouble. Santa Claus is not the only one making lists around here, and we're putting all kinds of holiday no-nos on notice. Now, every Monday until December, we're going to highlight 2 different holiday offenders to place on the Christmas Everyday podcast version of the Naughty List. And in December, we'll release our weekly Nice List, where we will highlight 2 different holiday items or characters or songs or whatever that fill us with joy. Now, I say we're going to do 2. It'll probably be like 3 or 4 every week, since we've only got a limited number of Nice List dates that we're going to be putting out. And if you have any naughty or nice list recommendations, you can send those to us at christmaseverydayshow@gmail.com, and we will talk about it if I don't steal your ideas to make me look good, because that's what I do. So today is November 10th, 2025. It is 45 days until Christmas, and that's just pretty amazing. We've got Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of weeks, but the weather here in Tennessee has taken a cold turn. It's getting down into the 20s tonight, and so I am in my studio, as it were. I've got my space heater going on, Home Alone's on the TV, and I'm drinking a cup of Santa's White Christmas coffee from Barney's Coffee and Tea Company. And it's just a great evening. You know, it's a nice cozy evening. But we're going to get into the naughty list. So up first this week is a song that I never really had any heartburn with until I put a little bit of thought into it. And this is an older song. I've known it for years and years and years, but I never really thought about how just awful it is. And this is outside of the fact that, you know, the guy who sings it sounds like he's just, you know, straight up drunk. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer by Elmo and Patsy is consistently on everybody's, you know, worst Christmas songs list. And for different reasons, but, you know, I've got my own, and it's really just one reason, and it's horrifying. This sweet old lady has the worst family ever. She's got the worst family you've ever seen, and it doesn't take very long to figure out why either. The song starts off saying, quote, she'd been drinking too much eggnog, and we begged her not to go, but she forgot her medication, and she staggered out the door into the snow. Okay, not the worst thing in the world. It's getting there, but, you know, Grandma had a little eggnog at the Christmas party. You know, who hasn't knocked back a couple of cold ones at the Christmas party? Who hasn't done that? She skipped her meds, which was probably a good decision on her part if she was going to be drinking, and she decided she was going to take off and go home. It most likely because, you know, with a family like this one, she probably didn't want to be there in the first place. So when she stumbles out of the party, her family is begging her to stay. Now, there's no mention of anybody wanting to help her get home. They're just like, oh no, wait, stop, oh, don't, okay, bye. And, you know, I'm sure it would have been incredibly difficult to prevent her from leaving, you know what, with her grandma strength and everything, that tricky grandma strength. Okay, so the next line is, quote, when they found her Christmas morning at the scene of the attack, end quote. Now, so did anybody even call after she left to make sure she got home okay? Or did you not have a clue if she was fine or not until you heard that she'd been run over by Santa Claus? Was Grandma just an afterthought until you got the phone call the next day? They found her the next day. The chorus says, quote, Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house Christmas Eve, end quote. Walking. Okay, Nobody checked to see if Grandma got home okay? I mean, I'm glad the song clarifies that she hadn't been driving. That's a blessing in disguise. But a little old grandma, drunk walking home from the Christmas party, and it had been snowing, so you know how cold it had to have been, and nobody helped Grandma? Oh my gosh. Okay, it gets worse. The next line is, quote, "Now we're all so proud of Grandpa. He's been taking this so well," end quote. Hold up. Where was Grandpa when Grandma was hammered and she was walking home from the party in the snow? Okay, was Grandpa at the party? It's all getting kind of convoluted here. Now, it could have been that, knowing this ungrateful family, that Grandpa just skipped the party altogether and he went to bed at like 6:30 after he had dinner at 4:30. And everybody else was partying. I'm pretty sure that's exactly where I would have been too. But you've got to make sure that your wife gets home safely, even if the party she went to is within walking distance, which apparently this one was. And, even if he was at home, did anybody call him and say, hey, Grandpa, yep, you know what? She did it again. Yep, she's trashed. You may want to come give her a hand getting home. Now, it doesn't look like anybody called Grandpa and said that, so I don't, this is just, and then this horrible family, they just actually debated whether they should keep the gifts that they got from her or not. With any luck, Grandma had just totally redone the will, and she timed it so that she'd be out on the road when Santa was coming through. That's the only thing I can think of. It really is. One would think that getting run over by Santa's sleigh would be the worst thing that happened in the song, but with this family, I don't know. Santa might have done Grandma a huge favor. Now, bad family is always going to get put on the naughty list. This one probably should have made one of the first episodes. This is a horrible, horrible family. Just letting Grandma go like that. That was awful. When my grandparents were alive, I didn't want my grandmother to try to walk down the front steps by herself. I don't know. Y'all are just terrible. Terrible people. It's a bad song. Okay, so next up this week is a movie that I'd been meaning to watch for about a year now. But because I have a tendency to put off basically everything, I didn't get around to seeing it until just a couple of weeks ago. I'm still kind of, confused about the whole thing. I didn't really get many parts of it. I have to say, it wasn't the worst Christmas movie that I'd ever seen. But since I can usually find something to complain about, I felt like this one should probably be on the list. So Candy Cane Lane came out on Amazon Prime Video in 2023. And I don't hate the premise. I'm not going to give too much away. But a guy is trying to win a Christmas house decorating contest in his neighborhood. Now, there are a few, little subplots. He got laid off from his job. His wife is trying to get a promotion. They've got 3 kids and they have different kid things going on. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I know there are some of you who haven't seen it, but I got irritated by a few things, and that's why this one is on the list. Now, first off, how old is Eddie Murphy going to be before he is not cast as a father of younger kids anymore? How old does he have to be? I mean, really, look, I can admit, he looked pretty good in the movie. He definitely didn't look his age. He was 62 when this movie came out. Eddie Murphy was 62 when this movie came out. And he's got his oldest kid is getting ready to graduate from high school. Really? Okay, so he looked good in the movie. But does anybody remember The Haunted Mansion? That one came out in 2003. So 20 years later, Eddie Murphy is still making movies where he has school-age kids. I get it. Some people have children later in life, and that's fine. But come on, Eddie Murphy's been acting for 45 years. The guy, 62, it's not as old as it used to be. But come on. Come on. Also, the movie is set in Southern California. I'm sure Southern California is a great place to visit, but I have a very hard time trying to get excited over people really, decorating up their houses in areas where I know that it's 75 degrees outside. Even at that, in this movie, everybody was outside and they're wearing vests and everybody's wearing pants. and long sleeves. And I just don't understand it. I don't know what the weather, maybe I'm just assuming. I think Southern California, isn't Southern California like the same temperature like almost all year long? Like isn't December like it's still a very moderate, like very warm month? Yeah, I think that it is. I don't know. It's just a personal thing, but I just really don't like to think about Christmas in extremely moderate climates. I really don't. Southern California, it doesn't seem Christmassy to me. It really doesn't. And I don't live in the most Christmassy area. I live in Tennessee, but we have colder winters, and a lot of the time on Christmas it could be 60 degrees. Sometimes it could be 40 degrees. You never really know what you're going to get. But I think that's the issue that I've got with Southern California. I think you pretty much always know what you're going to get, and it's always going to be like pretty warm. Anyway, on top of that other stuff, it's just a weird movie. Now there's an extremely strange former North Pole elf who makes a bargain with Eddie Murphy's character, and she just acts stranger the longer this movie goes. I don't know what her problem was. There are also like a number of like supernatural things that happen, like just out in the open in front of like a bunch of people like all the time, and everybody just kind of acts normal anytime anything happens that would have had me running for the hills. Now there was a scene where this was really weird. There's a scene where the family was in the stands at the track where the oldest daughter had a track meet. 2 days before Christmas, they're having a track meet, by the way. That's just dumb in itself. But the son's teacher approaches the mom to talk to her about how he's failing math. So, the son sees him coming, and what does he do? He just runs off. And he just runs away, and all of a sudden there's like some montage of him being in the band room making some music where he's playing a tuba over hip-hop beats. I mean, the whole thing is, it's okay, that's not something I would want to see anyway, but it was horribly mistimed in the movie. It's just weird. There are just a lot of weird things going on in the movie, but the worst thing for me is that it wasn't really written for Eddie Murphy to be funny in. He's just like a regular suburban dude. And that's it. He's a suburban father. That's it. I'm not sure why anybody thought this movie needed to have him in it, especially since he was an old man River when they made it. Anyways, Candy Cane Lane, you're on the list, and I can say with all certainty that I am never going to watch that movie again. I've seen worse movies, but I've never seen movies that are decent that are as weird as that one. Or, I don't know, I just don't love it. Anyway, that does it for this week. Please check in with us next Monday for our next episode of The Naughty List. And make sure to catch our regular Christmas Everyday episode every Friday. Again, if you have any naughty list or nice list recommendations, send those to christmaseverydayshow@gmail.com, and we will get those on for you. So until next Monday, try to stay off the naughty list, please. And Merry Christmas.